going into the first corner side by side. And of course, it's a real shame that Daniel Juncadella is on IMSA duty because he was the third member of that team last week. And wouldn't it have been great to see all three of them together on the grid? We can but wonder what might have happened. But we've got two of them, and there may be a chance that Marciello and Jules Gounon are together on the track, depending on what point in the race the driver change takes place. You saw from your graphic the indication for the drivers to get into the cars. The grid girls are currently doing their stuff at the moment. It is a party atmosphere here at the Nürburgring. This is race 7 of a 14-race season for the ADAC GT Masters, racing for the title of German GT champion. And the cars are lined up, the crowd are here. It's wonderful after all the traumas of the last couple of years to welcome spectators in great numbers, and every event this year that the ADAC has put on has been packed out with spectators. Weather conditions are absolutely perfect. It was boiling hot this week in the lead up to this weekend. It was a little bit cooler yesterday, and it's settled somewhere in the middle today. The skies are blue. There's no rain forecast, and we are set fair for some great racing here at the legendary Nürburgring. It's a circuit that is 3.629 kilometers around. It has 11 turns, 4 of them to the left and 7 to the right. We are in the shadow of the Nürburg Castle. And of course, just to the right of where we're sitting at the moment is the legendary Nordschleife. Sadly, we're not using that this weekend.
That would be certainly a dramatic occasion, wouldn't it? I know that back in 2007, when they kicked off the ADAC GT Masters, they did actually do a bit of a photo shoot on the Nordschleife itself. If only it had come to pass that we'd go racing there on the full layout. It would certainly be a spectacle, wouldn't it? But this little sprint circuit, the shorter configuration of the Nürburgring Grand Prix layout, is certainly one that provides us with exciting action over the years. It's been a part of the calendar from the very beginning, of course, 2007.
It has, and it is a welcome stop at the historic circuit here in Germany. There are, of course, other championships that are taking place apart from the Drivers' Championship. There is the Team Championship. Emil Frey currently leading Monteplas by Land, of course, who won the championship last year. Emil Frey just 14 points ahead, and that was a courtesy of that double win last time at Zandvoort. The Junior Championship has Ben Green and Nicolas Cruton. Of course, they're teammates, so they have the equal number of points, 124.5 points, just to round it down. They are at the top ahead of Konstalainen and Mick Wieshofer, who have 96 points. There is a trophy category, but unfortunately, there is only one driver in the trophy category, and that is Florian Spengler, so we can almost declare him as champion already. It's not always a bad thing. The trophy category is for non-professional drivers who are over 30 or semi-professional drivers who are over 35. It says a lot about this series. There's an awful lot of young blood coming into the category, and it's no longer the older drivers, no disrespect to the older drivers, but there's a lot of the young chargers on the grid now.
Oh, it's a grid of, if not the current best GT racers in the world, all of the manufacturers' prospects for the future of their customer GT racing programs. You know, if they aren't someone who's already week in, week out paired with a team somewhere in the world in a GT car, you can be sure that some of them will have that in their near future. We see there the 1-minute board has been raised, so the engines have been started, and it won't be long before the formation lap is rolling.
I can confirm that the floor of the commentary box is shaking as these GT3 cars burst into life, and very shortly we will start on that parade lap and we will be racing. Other parish notices: Maxi Goetz returns once again for Mad Panda Racing alongside Ezequiel Perez-Campagne, and Maxi Goetz really just trying to bring a little bit of experience and a little bit of expertise. It's Mad Panda we've welcomed to the grid this year. It's been maybe a traumatic start, but it's been improving. And of course, Ezequiel Perez-Campagne, in changeable conditions at Zandvoort, did qualify at the front of the grid in the last race, but started the race on tyres and wet tyres, and wasn't able to hold on when much of the field around him were on slicks. This is the view from our pole sitter, Raffaele Marciello, who leads the field around The sun is shining, the cars are running, and we are getting ready for racing. Very shortly, we will bring you the starting grid for race 7 of this 14-race season. It's Raffaele Marciello on pole position. Fabian Schiller, wonderful qualifying from him to line up second ahead of Ayhancan Guven. And another great qualifying performance, this time from Elias Seppänen. Patrick Niederhauser, the 2019 champion, is alongside Britain's Jack Aitken and Joe Sturm. He was great in qualifying alongside Mick Wieshofer for Emil Frey Racing. Max Paul for Paul Motorsport and Jan Marszałkowski line up on row 5. Frank Pereira, another of the Emil Frey Lamborghinis with Nicky Katzberg, a long way back for him in the BMW. Then it's Tim Zimmerman and the aforementioned Ezequiel Perez Companc for Mad Panda. Yusuf Avega and Kim Louis Schramm lining up on row 8. Row 9, Niklas Kruten and Thierry Vermeulen. And on row 10 of the grid, Salman Ovega and Florian Spengler for the Car Collection Motorsport. Bringing up the rear of the grid, Simon Riker for East Talent Racing in the Audi. Audi, of course, still looking for that 50th win in GT3 racing. They've got a fair challenge ahead of them because Patrick Niederhauser is the highest scoring Audi, and he is 5th on the grid. It's Mercedes, Mercedes, Porsche, Mercedes. That says to me that the Mercs are quite strong here.
Yes, rather a surprise, really. You say that 50th win. I would have put good money on a 50th win for Audi and GT Masters coming right here, where they've already done it 7 times in the last 10 years. But as of this moment, as of qualifying earlier today, it's not looking likely. However, there's an hour of racing to come.
Yes, as they say, the night is young. Look at these cars sparkling in the sunlight, heading now towards the Vidal chicane. We call it a chicane. Most cars seem to take it a straight line and go over it. But here they are now filing around behind the safety car. They have to get a little bit single file just to get through it. Back into the side-by-side. The safety car peels off into the pit lane. The tension is rising. The cars come out of the final turn, turn 11 here at the Nürburgring on the sprint circuit. We are getting ready for race 7 of a 14-race season. This is the mighty ADAC GT Masters, and we are go. It's Raffaele Marciello who sees the green light first and heads into turn 1. Now we've seen a lot of drivers locking up into this first corner. They're tiptoeing in. Marciello goes deep, and suddenly Guven sees a gap on the inside of the Mercedes. It's going to be a drag race out towards turn 2 and turn 3. Marciello gathers it up, but now he is coming under pressure. It's Fabian Schiller, having dropped back, who comes back into second place. Keep an eye on Patrick Niederhauser and Elias Seppänen also in there. All the cars look to have made it round the first couple of corners. It's Marciello who's leading. Then it's Fabian Schiller, Ayhancan Guven, Patrick Niederhauser, Elias Seppänen. And here come the rest of the fields, the roar of the cars coming round the corner. It is Raffaele Marciello doing exactly what he needed to do at the start of this race. Jan Marszałkowski with the 71 of Max Paul also behind him. And this is the view on board with Niklas Kruten and the Schubert Motorsport BMW. He's a long way back. He's got a lot of work to do from there.
Yes, he does. A lot to do from 17th place. Some good starts there. Niederhauser has moved himself up to 4th place. Sturm from 7th on the grid has moved himself up into P5 as well. So there were some who lost places, and you see there that Seppänen in particular seems to be struggling on this first lap. He's now under pressure from Jack Aitken in 7th place, so he's down into 6th already, and the second of the Mambas may be under threat yet.
Elias Seppänen, there's an awful lot of pressure for a driver who is new to GT3 racing. He did a great job in qualifying, but he's got an awful lot of pressure he's going to have to hold on to. We saw somebody, I think it was Schiller, just locking up slightly into turn 1, but there is quite a scrap going on here. Jan Marszałkowski in the pink Mercedes, no, not that one, the pink Mercedes leading a little gaggle of cars that are behind him, and there is the aforementioned Seppänen. That is Simon Riker in the 54 car. He'd made a great start, made it up to 17th place from the back. But he's turned it around on turn 1, and he's rejoined briefly. We have a yellow flag, but he is now back in the race. I have to say, Joel Sturm looks to be the man to watch as we look again at the gaggle of cars going through, and you just see Riker getting spat out into the corner. But Joel Sturm, he was a real star at Oschersleben when the season opened, and he is another driver who appears to be on a roll at the moment. So keep an eye on the number 22 Porsche.
Yeah, really good start, as we said on that first lap. He was looking feisty, and see if he can catch up to Niederhauser. We're going to have to see if anyone can match the pace of Raffaele Marciello on this first stint. He was a second clear at the end of the first lap, and I reckon that may have near enough doubled by the time we get to the end of lap number 2. Schiller certainly having to drive through the mirrors, courtesy of Ian Chan Guven there in third place, and we see some damage there to the Retronic 27 car. Kim Louis Schramm with major damage to the rear bodywork of that car, and you can see that the tyres are being rubbed on significantly. That's not going to be nice into the first corner if he doesn't start to slow down. Guven, meanwhile, trying to get past Schiller.
So Fabian Schiller holding on to that second place. Ian Chan Guven, who has been there or thereabouts all season long. Of course, in the second race at Zandvoort last time out, they were looking good for a podium position until the gearbox let them down, literally with a couple of corners to go, and they dropped back off the podium. And they want to make up for that, because had it not been for that moment, Ian Chan Guven and Christian Eckhardt would have been leading the points coming into this race. Guven, who is always there at the front of the field, he knows Porsche inside out, doing a great job putting the pressure onto Fabian Schiller. Lots of challenges up and down the field, but not much of a challenge for Raffaele Marciello at the moment. I have to say that once he gets in front, it's going to take something to stop him. He has so much determination at the moment. You saw the passion in his body language at Red Bull Ring when he was caught up at the back of the pack. If he gets out in front, then woe betide anybody who tries to get past him. And you can see he's opened up that gap over Fabian Schiller. Out of turn 11 he comes, and he crosses the line. Let's see what that gap is. The gap is, it was a long way back, 2 seconds, give or take a thousandth, to Fabian Schiller and Ian Chan Guven. This is a replay of the Kim Louis Schramm incident. I think no, maybe the bodywork damage has happened at this point already. And it looked like, no, maybe there was a bit of contact. See the cars just coming through there, just in the scrum. And actually, was his teammate involved in that? The 28 car, Salmon Vega. And, oh, this is going to be a bit awkward over dinner tonight, isn't it? Because the two cars, oh no, that is not a Vega. That is Niklas Kruten in the Schubert BMW. Vega was there. I'm pleased to say he wasn't the one who made the contact.
Yes, thankfully not. As you say, that could have been an intriguing conversation. But you see the bodywork has now seemingly rubbed itself down to a point where it's no longer clipping the tyre. We got a few shots of the car running seemingly smoothly, though I'm sure, you know, that rear bodywork is there for a reason other than regulatory. So I'm sure the car is not optimal now for Kim Louis Schramm, but I'm sure he'll press on.
I should think the tyres aren't optimal either, with the bodywork can be rubbing against them. To remind you, this is a timed race. It's a sprint race, but it is timed to an hour plus 1 lap, which is why you have a clock in your top left-hand corner counting down. The other thing I must remind you is that every car is required to visit the pits for a mandatory stop and driver change, and they must do that within a pit stop window. The window opens 25 minutes into the race, and it closes 35 minutes into the race. And according to my maths, that means it's open for about 10 minutes. And during that window, the cars must come into the pits. Fabian Schiller has immense pressure from Ian Chan Guven. Go on, hurry up, he says, gives him a little nudge. Surely Guven is going to be lining Schiller up for a pass when they come out of turn 11 on to the pit straight. This is the best overtaking opportunity on the circuit. They can pick up a slipstream as they head along past the pits. So surely Guven is going to be lining Schiller up when they get to that point. Meanwhile, Marciello is very happy they're scrapping over second place, because he's pulled out another half a second in the lead. And of course, while the cars are scrapping over the positions behind, that just allows him to stretch his legs even further.
That it does. We see the incident between car 10 and 27. That is, of course, Kruten arriving at the rear of Kim Louis Schramm at turn 5 under investigation. So we'll have to see whether or not that results in a penalty. Schiller still under pressure, not just from Guven, but also from Niederhauser, who's closed in to make it a 3-car scrap for second place. The Porsches are historically very strong here at the Nürburgring Sprint Circuit, especially in recent times. In the last 3 years, we've seen a Porsche win in GT Masters on 4 occasions.
On that last lap, 0.7 of a second is how much Marciello's opened up the gap. He is doing all that he can to open it up. Of course, tyre changes are not permitted in the pit stops unless they have a puncture. So he needs to be careful, because whatever state the car is in, whatever state the tyres are in, that's what Maro Engel is going to inherit after the pit stop. And if the tyres are worn out, then Maro Engel is going to struggle. You have to get up pretty early in the morning to see Maro Engel struggle, it has to be said. But Marciello needs to preserve the tyre, so I'm guessing he will open up some kind of gap and then try and hold it at that. Or maybe, knowing Raffaele, he'll just go hell for leather all the way. But it is Marciello who currently leads by 3.2 seconds and is continuing to open that gap from Fabian Schiller, who is under pressure from Ayhancan Guven, who in turn is under pressure from Patrick Niederhauser, the 2019 GT Masters champion, now tracking down that Porsche and putting the pressure on. And of course, Guven will soon have the headache that if he tries to make a move on Fabian Schiller and it doesn't stick, he may well leave the door open for Niederhauser to come diving through.
Yeah, always the concern, of course. And Guven, I think, will have quite a lot. You've got many plates, many balls up in the air when you're juggling everything in that position, having to go offensive and defensive. And as you've alluded to, you also, it's in your favour to keep these tyres clean for your co-driver later on in the race.
There is a bit of a bump going into turn 1, and it is quite significant, as we've seen many drivers caught out by this bump into turn 1, and it sometimes causes lockups. We've seen many drivers in qualifying and in some of the other races today going off into the runoff area in turn 1 as a result of that bump that can catch them out. And that is the best overtaking opportunity, but it's also where we've seen many positions thrown away. So that obviously at the end of the pit straight into turn 1. So we're 10 minutes into the race. It's Raffaele Marciello who's opened up the gap to 3.775 seconds. The gap, he's not extending it quite as much now, so one would like to think that maybe he's saving a little bit for Maro Engel. It's Fabian Schiller who is at the front of this battle with Ayhancan Guven and Patrick Niederhauser. Looking back at one of the Lamborghinis, and the T3 Lamborghini be driven by Max Paul. T3 Motorsport has had a few problems this year, so T3 have now handed over to Paul Motorsport. So Max Paul's father, who is Tobias Paul, he takes over the reins of that team. So it's a name change, and the team starts on 0 points. We see Jan Marszałkowski really hustling the car over the Vidal chicane, and Nicholas Cruton and also the other of the BMWs, Nicky Katzberg, not even hustling, just going straight over the top of it. I was about to say about Paul Motorsport, the team, because of the change, they start on 0 points. So everything that was earned as T3 Motorsport is lost for that team, but the drivers still retain their points. And Max Paul in 8th place. If he can finish there, we'll pick up a decent haul of points. So we take a breath, we take stock. Marciello and Schiller and Guven leading the way. The Vidal chicane continues to entertain us as the drivers bounce across it. Elias Seppänen in the other of the yellow Mamba Mercedes doing a good job in 6th place. This is a big pressure for him. And now on board with Jack Aitken in 7th place, looking back at Max Paul. There was less than a second separating, I think it was about the top 18 on the grid. So these cars very evenly matched. Of course, the balance of performance, making sure that no one manufacturer can get a big leap in front. Having said that, there appears to be a gridlock of Audis at the back of the pack. So the Audis are maybe being disadvantaged by the BOP, certainly not finding the ideal setup here at the Nürburgring. The only exception being the number 15 car, which Patrick Niederhauser is racing for Rutronic Racing, currently in 4th place.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we saw much the same here, or we saw much the same out of Audi at Oschersleben, particularly in the first race of the season. I think there was one car well up the order, and every other car seemed to be down towards the back of the pack. Does seem as though the Audis at some of these tight bullring-esque circuits are struggling a little bit this year. So we'll have to see what happens. I'm sure Porsche will be hoping that their 992 generation GT3 car that will arrive on the scene next year is as good around this circuit as this second generation 991 car has been since 2019. As I said, 4 wins the last 3 years for this generation of Porsche GT3 machinery. They've taken the veil off of the 992 generation car for next year. Obviously, we've seen Ferrari debut a new car as well. The 296 GT3 will hopefully come and join us next year here at the ADAC GT Masters. Hint, hint, hint.
Yes, indeed.
And then, of course, there's a new evolution for Lamborghini as well. The M4 GT3 car in its second year, I'm sure, will have been developed leaps and bounds once again by BMW. Exciting times in the GT3 community.
There really is, and the new Porsche and indeed the new Ferrari looking very tasty indeed. And we had a close-up look at the new Lamborghini. It was on display, has been on display at a number of events so far, and we'll see that racing in anger in the 23 season. So already we're excited for 2023, and we've only just started the second half of 22. You're looking there at Jan Marszałkowski, and he is in 9th place. We really need a good result for the pink Mercedes because he had a rubbish time at Zandvoort. Really needs to put that memory behind him. Max Paul is in front of him, Nicky Kasper behind him. I should think if Marszałkowski can improve on 9th place, he would be very happy indeed. It's his debut year in GT Masters. He was a superstar in GT4 last year. Such a great performance. It's always a big step up into the big GT3 monsters. It's a steep learning curve. He's got Lucas Stoltz as his teammate this year, and he says that they are getting on really well already as Salmano Vega and teammate Kim Louis Ram continue their battle. Just don't drive into each other, please. The two Rutronic Racing. No, I say they're teammates. Of course they're not. They're both in Audis. They're brand mates. Of course, Salmano Vega is Montoplast. Kim Louis Ram is Rutonic. Okay, I'll get detention after this now for saying that, won't I? That's a sin that's not forgivable. So on board with Kim Louis Ram, who is currently running in 18th place. Vega and Vega in front. Two Vegas running together. And never again will I get those two Audis mixed up. Running side by side on the wide outside. Vega to the outside and just about, well, it takes it wide onto the gravel, keeps it together, points it in the right direction, but Kim Louis Ram through on the inside into turn 1. It's Kim Louis Ram who has that position at the moment. He goes deep into the corner. Vega now ducking back to the inside. That inside line becomes the outside, and it's advantage Kim Louis Ram at the moment, but Vega is not done here. He wants that position, and the two Audis almost pushing as they go around the corner. It is Kim Louis Ram at the front of that pack at the moment. Behind it's Vega, but Vega still continuing to put the battle on. Vega, another driver who has come through the ranks of GT4. Very impressive too, has really taken to GT Masters. Of course, teamed up with Christopher Haase, the first ever GT Masters champion. And what a mentor that is. In the background, you see the number 33 car of Thierry Vermeulen. And Thierry, along with co-driver Matthias Drudy, scored their best result of the season, and certainly Vermeulen's best result ever in GT Masters at Zandvoort last time out with a second place. Two Lamborghinis side by side. This time it's Max Paul and Jack Aitken. So Jack Aitken coming under pressure. Lamborghini versus Lamborghini. And
look at the Paul Motorsport Lamborghini. It's wearing some battle scars that weren't there previously. When we rejoined them, they were at turn 11. What comes before 11? The Vidal chicane. I'm just adding things up. There's Max Paul trying to get to the inside of Aitken, side by side between the two of them. Aitken on the AstroTurf. That always makes things Nürburgring's hard to hold on to positions, but he's just about held on to the outside at 3. However, Max Paul just about moves up then into what is now 7th place. 8th place for Aitken. He's, of course, carrying 20 kilos of ballast owing to his results last time out at Zandvoort. We ride in the air intake of the Lamborghini, and unfortunately, it's now another Lamborghini ahead of him. Aitken down to P8.
So, as you mentioned already, Jack Aitken, you might think those cars are identical. They are not. In this instance, Aitken has that 20-kilo ballast, but if he doesn't finish in the top 3 in this race, then the ballast is shed for tomorrow. So maybe he'll have some more pace. He's found a bit of pace there as he goes to the outside of Max Paul. The two cars running together. Now looking back at Marszałkowski, bodywork flying. I think that might have been a bit more of the Max Paul car. Marszałkowski's come through as well. So Max Paul off the racing line. Marszałkowski's through, but Nicky Kasberg is in there as well. He's going to try and take both of them. Nicky Kasberg along the pit straight to the inside of Jan Marszałkowski under heavy braking into turn 1. Advantage Kasberg. What a move from him. 2 cars in the series of about 3 corners. Now there's another Lamborghini getting involved. Is that Frank Pereira and Mick Wiesover also in there as well? 7th to 10th in just a few corners for Max Paul. The ultimate opportunist is in the ultimate driving machine. Nicky Kasberg in the BMW, sweeping and taking the opportunity as soon as it presented itself. Very well executed indeed. But Frank Pereira in the 19 ML Frey Lamborghini is now queuing up behind Max Paul as we get now an outside look, an external look at what went on at the Vidal chicane. Contact 1 comes up. Oh no, this is a couple of laps ago, so this is how the damage happened initially. And well, I'm very glad that bodywork shed, because otherwise the drag coefficient would have been terrible for the Paul Motorsport Lamborghini. But it's been rather physical between these two for the last couple of laps, and ultimately Aitken came out on top. Oh, but there is bodywork there. Yes, safety car is out. I was about to say to you, just as it was coming out, that bodywork is good for a puncture for somebody. So safety car is out. At the point, Raffaele Marciello had a lead of 5.8 seconds. He's done all that hard work, in fact, make that 6.068 seconds. That, of course, is going to be wiped out. And if we have a camera pointing at Marciello, there might be some familiar steering wheel thumping going on, as has become his custom, because that bodywork, if a car runs over it, could cut a tyre. I think Max Paul was lucky. In fact, Jack Aitken was also lucky not to get a puncture with that contact in the Vidal chicane. But the safety car is out in order to retrieve that debris on the circuit. I anticipate it'll be a fairly short safety car period, but all that hard work by Marciello, suddenly Fabian Schiller and Ian Guven are going to be on his back bumper.
Getting a look here at some Rutronic versus Land battling. Once again, Kun Louis Schramm getting into it with Salmano Vega. And this is actually a replay of what we saw earlier on, of course, with the Audi R8 LMS, not Quattro, trying to go rally crossing in the hands of Salmano Vega. But yeah, it's one of those situations where, yes, it's probably going to be a very brief safety car. We've seen the 1 marshal only required to pick up the carbon fiber, but of course that's a key part of the circuit. 9 and 10 into 11, that would have been right in the firing line of everyone entering the pit lane during the window, so there was no option but to collect up that strewn carbon fiber. Here's how it ended up there. Again, just Jack Aitken bouncing across the sausage curb, cutting across the front end of Max Paul's Lamborghini and redesigning it.
I'd say that flailing front wing did make quite heavy contact with the rear wheel of Jack Aitken. He was lucky not to get a puncture out of that. We're looking at the replay again. Safety car is in on this lap, according to our timing screens, but you can see the bodywork just goes off over the track. That'll probably be on that Marshall's lounge wall by the end of the day. So that is the replay, and we are back racing. We got problems. That is Vega with the bonnet up on the car. So what has occurred there?
And Nicky Kasberg in the pits as well. So Kasberg's into pit lane. Salmano Vega has had the car seemingly in explode in front of his windscreen. We're not sure what's happened there. As they've gone back to green flag conditions, there was some scrapping as well between Frank Pereira and Max Wiesolfer as they came across the line to start the lap. Now we're going to get a look here, and I think just going into the rear of Kim Louis Schramm. Kim Louis Schramm's already damaged rear end, smashed there by that 28 Montplas by Land car, and wow, Salmon Ovega, unsurprisingly, has had to pull the car over.
That is certainly game over. Now, where has he stopped? He's out on turn 2. Is this going to require another safety car? It depends on whether he's got it to safety or not. Marciello, in the meantime, has opened up a gap at the front. We still don't know what's happened to Nicky Katzberg. It clearly wasn't as part of that incident. You can see safety car is out again to retrieve the stricken car that is up on turn 2, the car of a Vega. So safety car didn't even have time to turn the engine off, did he? So back out on turn 1. Marciello's big gap that he opened up is gone once again. The safety car driver doing a great job. Did you know he's also a fireman part-time? And he does this for fun as well on the weekends. A superstar he is. Ron Dobmeier is his name. And this race is the first time we have seen a safety car this year, because up until this point we haven't had a single safety car during a GT Masters race in 2022. Somebody wrote that down, and that of course put the curse on it. Next race along, and we see 2 of them within the space of a couple of minutes.
I'm sure race director Sven Stopper thanks the press release writer for that one. Of course, Sven, we talk about the backboard. It's terrible. We saw it in slow motion before, but with the sound on, it's different. But of course, Sven, our race director, was really born into motor racing. He grew up all of 10 meters from the racing surface of the Schleicher-Drake street circuit that was prominent in East Germany in the 80s and 90s. So he's really grown up in racing, and he's trying to make that long lap penalty that we see attributed in favor of drive-throughs the norm. He's considering implementing multiple long lap penalties rather than drive-throughs, because of course the length of time you lose to a drive-through penalty is inconsistent depending where you are. So it is quite a clever system that he's devised.
Yes, he has said he was going to ring in the changes. There's some heated discussions going on Montplas by Land. And you saw Kim Louis Schramm, the on-board just now, and you felt the impact as we looked at the driver. And now we look at the Ovega car, which is abandoned, fairly unloved at the corner of the circuit at the moment. Safety car is in this lap, but the pit stop window will be postponed.
The safety car in this lap message has been there since the previous safety car, so I don't think they've actually taken that message down. Unfortunately, just keeping you on your toes.
Someone update our timing screen. Right, this is the Mad Panda going wide out onto the AstroTurf. I'm told there's not much grip on the AstroTurf. No. So the very wild Mad Panda with Zico Perez Campang at the wheel in 14th place, and using a little bit of the track and a little bit more with Niklas Kruten. And there was a bit of contact between the 2 of them.
There was, and of course Niklas Kruten has already had a black and white flag shown to him for tapping the back of Kim Louis Schramm's Audi earlier on. That's another instance of getting a car ahead of him loose by way of contact. If he's not careful, those black and white flags could start to accumulate.
He's getting a bit feisty in his old ages on Niklas Kruten. He also got a warning in qualifying this morning. He's also the expert at closing a car door whilst the car is moving, if you remember Red Bull Ring. Anyway, safety car is in this lap. I can confirm they didn't even take the graphic down last time. They just put it straight back up again. So safety car is in this lap. It's Marciello who leads the way. The pit stop window has been delayed because it would have opened at 35 minutes. But of course, we are behind the safety car. We will let you know when we know that the pit stop window is going to open. Then there will be that 10-minute period. Kim Louis Schramm, well, he's still in the race at the moment, albeit in 16th place and albeit with a little bit of damage, but it looks like he is all good to go. The safety car now in the hands of Ron Dobmeier disappears off into the distance, and Marciello, for the second time of asking, backs the field up. Fabian Schiller waiting for the yellow map to go. It looks like that's exactly what has happened. Marciello hits the accelerator, tries to catch the number 4 car, snoozing, and disappears off into the distance. And they cross the line already. Marciello's opened up 7/10 of a second. So 8/10 of a second make that. Weaving to get heat into the tyres is Raffaele Marciello, Fabian Schiller, Ian Schenguven, Joel Sturm. Keep an eye on the number 22 Allied Racing Porsche in 4th place. Patrick Niederhauser, Elias Seppänen, who's handling the pressure with a great deal of credit. Then Jack Aitken, he's not done yet in P7. Marshall Kowski up to P8, good job from him. Max Paul and Frank Pereira rounding out the top 10.
So Ian Schenguven picking up where he left off on the back of Fabian Schiller and trying to find a way through, all while trying to avoid losing time to Joel Sturm, who's back up to P4.
Right, pit stop window will be between 13:27 local time, so in 10 seconds the pit stop window will open and will remain open till 37. So when that clock gets to the hour, which is now, the pit stop window, well, that's what it says on our timing screen. The graphic is not reflecting that on your screen, but according to our timing screens, the pit stop window is now open and will be for the next 10 minutes. I think confusion reigns because getting a safety car this close to the pit window can cause all sorts of problems. Joel Sturm is the first to blink for Allied Racing. He will be handing over to Sven Muller, vastly experienced driver. Look how deep into the pit lane Joel Sturm went. I thought he was going in the barrier. Of course, he gets to the pit entry. He has to hit the speed limiter. Doesn't want to break the speed limit, which is 80, no, it isn't, it's 50 kilometers now. I just increased it there. The drivers do have a minimum pit stop time of 65 seconds. If they go below that pit stop time from pit entry to pit exit, they will pick up a penalty. There's a whole stream of cars coming into the pits for the mandatory stop. Muller is out of the garage, and Sturm is out of the car. Muller into the car, Sturm helping him to get buckled up, and soon they will shut the door, the engine will burst into life, and they will hit the pit lane again, but not any quicker than 65 seconds.
So the pit window opened with 32 minutes and 43 seconds of the race left to go. So if you're wanting to push the extremes, it's going to be 22:43. That is the very last moment you can cross into pit lane. So then, 31 minutes of racing to go. We'd expect a few of these cars to stay out until the extremes of the pit window. And perhaps the likes of Wieshofer could be a contender for that, because he's stuck there at the moment, scrapping with Max Paul.
So Jan Moszkowski peels into the pit lane, and he will hand over to Lucas Stoltz, whom we welcome back to GT Masters. They really do I jump every time they go to the pits, and they go that deep into the corner. The number 14 car is in. That's Mick Wieshofer handing over to Konsta Lapalainen. So quite a few drivers stopping early in the window. There may be some who wish to stop late in the window. I would suggest one of those might be Raffaele Marciello. He is not done yet. He wants to open up that gap again before he hands their car over to Mauro Engel. So this is Marshall Kowski. He's done a great job, got it up to 8th place. He jumps out of the car. That looks like Jules Gounon, who is getting ready to take over from Fabian Schiller, warming himself up, pacing around, and that is the number 14, Mick Wieshofer, who will jump out and hand over to Konsta Lapalainen, the Finnish driver making his debut this year in the GT Masters, and of course having enjoyed victory at Zandvoort last time out.
Yes, of course, Emil Frey Racing with that result that finally brought them into the pantheon of race-winning teams in the ADAC GT Masters Championship, and that is a pantheon of very, very successful GT racing teams as well. We've had so many massive squads in this series over the years, and 2022 surely proving to be no exception. Looks like Nicolas Cruton's due for a pit stop. Yes, he is. In comes the number 10 car. He will hand over to Ben Green, and let's see if Ben is quite as abrasive with his other drivers as Cruton was in that first stint. Niklas really using the front end of that M4 on a couple of occasions.
Yes, he'll hand the remnants of the BMW to Ben Green. There is the remnants of another car. Is that Thierry Vermeulen's? That looks like another car shedding pieces. Matthias Drudy is going to be taking the wheel of the remnants, as we say, of that car. Look at all those shards of bodywork. That's good for a puncture somewhere along the way. Cruton's out of the car. Ben Green is in. It's Cruton's job to help Ben Green get buckled up. This pit stop heavily regulated. Only 2 mechanics allowed to work on the car, and so the driver helping the incoming driver helping the outgoing driver is an important part of that. The engine needs to be switched off. The door is shut. The driver is buckled up, and there is gravel all over the track. Marciello leads. You can see on your screen the P sign next to the driver's name. If the P is grey, it means they haven't pitted yet. If it's green, it means that they have. If the P is red, red P is always bad news. It means they've gone below the minimum pit stop time and they have a penalty incoming. Incoming to the pitch, Aynchan Guven, the mighty, experienced 2020 champion Christian Engelhardt will be jumping into the seat of the Team U Sportwagen Technik Porsche 911 in just a few moments. Elias Sepmanen, he deserves a well-earned break because he's done a great job in the number 84 man-filter Team Landgraf Mercedes. He's also into the pits. He'll be handing over to Frankie Bird. And keeping to the speed limit, into the pits comes Aynchan Guven. There is Engelhardt. On your marks, get set, go. This is a great pictorial representation of what actually happens. You saw just the 2 mechanics coming out. The incoming driver cannot leave the garage until the car has come to a stop. You can now see him helping, Aynchan Guven, that is, helping Engelhardt to get buckled in. The steering wheel will be adjusted. If there's a big difference in driver's height, they'll have an insert that goes into the seat. Meanwhile, those 2 mechanics checking tyre pressures, doing anything that needs to be done. Tyre changes not allowed, and soon now they wait on the stopwatch. The engine bursts into life, go, and the Porsche bursts into life on into the pit lane, and it's now Christian Engelhardt who rejoins the race. Now, where will he come out in comparison to Muller? There is Muller, who's gone past. So Sven Muller has jumped the Guven car in the pit stop. So Muller, who took over from Joe Storm, will have taken has taken that position from Guven and Engelhardt during the pit stop sequence.
Great performance then from the Allied Racing team to get the car out. And what are we looking at here? We've got a replay on board. I'm just getting a look at some of the footwork from Ricardo Feller. And go on.
No, I was going to say we haven't really actually mentioned Ricardo Feller yet. He is the one of the defending champions of the ADAC GT Masters. He wasn't at the Red Bull Ring, so as a result, he is a long way down the point standings, unlike his teammate Yusuf Vega, who's at the top of the point standings, or very near. The other of the defending champions is Christopher Mies, who drives the number 1 Monteplas by Land Audi that you can see there. Christopher Mies has taken over from Tim Zimmerman. We have to say congratulations to Christopher Mies. He became a father last week. What a way to deal with that. Go racing around the number 71 car. It's Max Paul still at the wheel of that car at the moment because he hasn't made his stop. But lots of action, lots of drama, and Christopher Mies in the battle with cars in front and cars behind.
Yeah, Christopher Mies, not only did he have his baby during, or the fact he welcomed the baby during the Spa 24 Hours itself, so not just during the week, but during a 24-hour race. The team scrambled to make sure he could go and see his newborn, and then he went racing. And now he's racing again, up on the back there, as you say, of Max Paul, and Christopher Mies has to worry about Ben Green behind him too. So in front of Christopher Mies, you can see Max Paul. He is under investigation along with the number 63 car, and that is Aitken and Albert Costa Balboa. Also the number 8 car, Marshalkowski and Stoltz, and also the number 20 car of Jesse Krohn and Nicky Katzberg. They are under investigation by the stewards. So we saw a bit of rubbing earlier on, a bit more than rubbing, we saw a bit of banger racing earlier on, and the stewards, well, they have got an awful lot of cameras, and they are looking at that at the moment. There may be penalties incoming. Okay, so just corrected on the timing screen that it's now Marco Mappelli at the wheel of the 71 Paul Motorsport Lamborghini.
Okay.
They did pit, but yes, the driver didn't change on the graphic, but thankfully that has now happened, so we don't have to remind ourselves time and time again over the next 24 minutes. That would be hard, but it is Marco Mappelli just ahead of Christopher Mies, and really about a third of the field behind him as well.
Now, what time did you say the window is going to be closing? Because it must be getting near the end. We've got 3 drivers who haven't pitted yet, including our leader.
1 minute left, so the last opportunity is now, and we can see that Marciello is in. So on the last possible opportunity, Raffaele Marciello has pitted.
I said it'd stay out, didn't I?
You had the, you get the feeling that he might have just wanted to prove a point by rebuilding that gap again. As Ben Green all over the back of Christopher Mies. You've got Costa Balboa, Lapalena under pressure from Ricardo Feller as well. So the 14 car in a bit of strife at the moment as this fabulous battle pack continues on for what's currently 10th place.
So Marciello hands over to Mauro Engel. It will be interesting to see where he comes out in relation to Sven Muller. The number 22 car currently out on turn 7, so a long way around the circuit at the moment. But remember, there is that minimum pit stop time, and there's still 25 seconds left before Mauro Engel is allowed to reach the pit exit. Meanwhile, all hell is breaking out further back. Battles right, left and centre, but we've got one eye on the lead battle because Sven Muller is very rapid, having taken over from Gerald Sturm in the Allied Racing Porsche. I don't think he'll be in front of Mauro Engel when he comes out, but he might be pretty close. Through the Vido chicane come this gaggle of cars, including the number 19 car, and out comes the leader. There is the leader, and the Allied Racing Porsche not too far behind, and there is Jules Gounon. So Sven Muller has got the jump on Jules Gounon during the pit stops. He's managed to do the undercut, and Muller up into second place. That Allied Racing Porsche is absolutely dialed in here this weekend.
It really is. Engelhardt all over the back now of Luca Engstler, of course, last year's ADAC TCR Germany champion, moving up into the world of GT3 racing this year with the Retronic Racing squad, and he's had some good outings. He's going to have to work very hard indeed to hold on to third position between now and the end of the race, to make that, fourth position at the moment that he's holding over Engelhardt in 5th. So we really have seen a bit of jumbling here in the top half dozen or so during the pit window. It's thrown many a spanner in the works.
It has, and the losers appear to have been Jules Gounon, who took over from Fabian Schiller. Of course, they were in second, now in third place. Also, Christian Engelhardt, who took over from Einchen Guven, down in 5th place. And of course, they were troubling the leaders early on in the race. Frank Bird, that's the best we've seen him go, in 6th place, having taken from Elias Seppänen. So he is in a great position to get a good points haul there. Albert Costa Balboa in 7th place, who's taken over from Jack Aitken. There's been a bit of jumbling. Of course, Lucas Stoltz in 8th place. He took over from Jan Marshall Kolski. This is the view from Christian Engelhardt. I would expect him to go forwards. He is so experienced behind the wheel of that Porsche, and surely Luca Engstler is going to have his work cut out keeping him behind. That car has been rapid all season long, and Engstler is going to have to pull on every trick that he knows to stay in front of it.
Marco Mappelli is about to have a very costly visit to the penalty lap. He got a penalty back for a lap for pushing another driver off track for the second time. He's got a huge pack of cars behind him, led of course by Christopher Mies and Ben Green. That is probably going to put him down to as near as last, really, unfortunately, Marco Mappelli. And, well, it's understandable. We know why it's happened. There have been a couple of instances of contact, but it's still going to hurt a lot as we see some side-by-side action further back.
That's Dennis Marshall, who's challenging Arthur Rougier. Arthur Rougier taken over from Franck Pereira, and some really close racing there. So Arthur Rougier, advantage Lamborghini at this point, but positions changing up and down the pack. You mentioned the penalty lap just now. That is a 200-meter box. It's on the exit of turn 1 off the racing line, and a driver who receives a penalty lap will have to pass through it at no more than 50 kilometers an hour. As you already mentioned, race steward Sven Stopper looking to introduce penalty laps rather than drive-through penalties. It's less harsh and it's very even, the 200-meter box. And that is exactly the penalty that the 71 car is going to have to serve. But look at this, challenges for position. Further back, Christopher Mies looking to the inside of Marco Mappelli, and more bodywork flying up in the air further back. That's the Mad Panda, Maxi Gertz in 16th place. He's got a lot of work to do from there.
Served the penalty has Marco Mappelli, so Mappelli's lost a few places there as a result of that, and the C has actually fallen behind Winkelhock there, so that puts him down to 17th place from P9. So there's an illustration of just how severe a penalty lap can be when you're in a pack.
So, 18.5 minutes of this race remaining. Still lots of challenges for position. We ride on board with the Rutronic racing cars. Dennis Marshall, it looks like in the picture there. And you're seeing life from his perspective down in 15th place. And it's great to see the concentration in his eyes as he hustles that Audi around this circuit. We are at the Nürburgring for race 7 of a 14-race season in the ADAC GT Masters. It's Mauro Engel who leads the way by 2.8 seconds, make that 2.7, because Sven Muller is closing in the Allied Racing Porsche. We saw Raffaele Marciello start the race in the number 48 car. He opened up a big gap. The safety car, 2 safety cars, saw that gap disappear. Joel Sturm at the wheel of the Allied Racing Porsche has done a lot of hard work. Sven Muller's taken over. He's now closing in on the leader. Mauro Engel is going to see Sven Muller in his mirrors. 2.7 seconds behind at the moment. We'll keep an eye on that. Third place, Jules Gounon. He is some 2.9 seconds behind Muller. And so Gounon will also be looking to close that gap up. We ride again with Ricardo Feller, the defending champion, one of the defending champions in the ADAC GT Masters. Feller currently in 12th place. Some fancy footwork going on.
Yes, there is. Spare a thought for Frankie Bird in 6th position. He is being slightly closed in upon, I believe, by both Albert Costa Balboa and Lucas Stoltz at the moment. That would be a rather frenetic fight for 6th position if Frankie does, in fact, have to get his elbows out as a result of the 63 and the 8 car. We'll keep an eye on that one. But Ricardo Feller continuing to show us around the circuit at speed at the moment. He runs in 12th place behind Lapalainen, who of course has moved up to 11th as a result of that penalty from Mappelli.
I'm looking at the gap, and in fact Mauro Engel has responded to Sven Muller and pulled out about 4/10, so 3.161 is the gap now between first and second. So it does look as though Mauro Engel is weathering the storm, and Sven Muller in second place. Now you see a little graphic with race laps for Wales in Africa at the bottom of your screen. We're up to 600 euros. It is a corporate social responsibility initiative of BWT in cooperation with the ADAC. For every race lap completed, as we look at Joel Sturm, for every race lap completed in the ADAC GT Masters, BWT and the ADAC are jointly donating €4 to Be Water Mission, providing clean drinking water, specifically in the Gambia and Tanzania. Great initiative. They raised 60 grand last year. We're going to try and beat that this year. We need more laps. We need 2-hour races. That would up the budget, wouldn't it? So keep an eye on that total that flashes up on the screen occasionally. It just shows the ADAC really thinking about the future, thinking about the planet, thinking about the environment. They have already been behind the new innovative fuel. They've been working with Shell. The Shell Blue Gasoline 98 consists of approximately 50% renewable components developed by Shell in collaboration with the ADAC, and it's really good to see the ADAC on so many levels really thinking environment, thinking the future with all that they're doing at their race events.
Yes, well, we've already ticked over the €20,000 mark for the race Wales in Africa. During this race, we're already over 22,000 now. We'll see where we are by year's end. Of course, this is race 7 of 14, isn't it? So we are at almost the exact halfway point of the season. We will be in 14 minutes, but in come 2 cars. The Mattia Drudi 33 car, the car collection entry, and Marco Mappelli of Paul Motorsport. Both cars in, both cars damaged. And I dare suggest both cars drew for retirement.
Yes, that's not looking like anything that's going to solve itself in a hurry, is it? So we've lost Mappelli, we've lost Mattia Drudi, we've lost Salmon Vega, and we've lost Nicky Katzberg. I'm not entirely sure why we've lost Nicky Katzberg, but I'm sure he was involved in one of those incidents as well. So that is 4 cars that are retired at the moment, but we still have plenty more running out on track, including Christian Engelhardt, and that was the view from him. Engelhardt, who's in 5th place. He's got a bit of work to do. Somebody's gone wide. That might have been Luca Engstler, who kicked up a bit of dust out of turn 11. So Engstler in 4th place, and ahead of him is Jules Gounon. Gounon running very much out on his own. I bet Engstler wish he was, but he isn't. He's got Engelhardt, Bird, Costa Balboa, and Stoltz lining up behind. There is going to be an explosion any second soon, because this lot is going to let go. You just know it, don't you?
Yeah, there is a sense of inevitability, isn't there?
Sense of doom.
Yeah, you could put it that way as well, definitely, yes. Engstler has done an admirable job so far of holding off Engelhardt. Frankie Bird is now there closing up. We were saying that Frankie Bird was going to have to worry about the 2 cars behind him. Yes, he very much does, but he's also now got to worry about the 2 ahead of him as well. It's become a 5-car scrap now with Luca Engstler at the sharp end of it in 4th position. Let's see if he can hold on for another 12 minutes and 45 seconds.
I have to say, Frankie Bird and Elias Seppänen, they really get a medal for this. That sounded patronising, but they're both drivers that are new to GT Masters this year, both young drivers in the Junior Championship, both running in 6th place, and if they can finish there, it'll be by far their best result of the season, as we look at how strong a BMW really is. It is hustled over the curbs by Ben Green. He's like, chicane, what chicane? I'm going straight on. There is Jules Gounon's reaction. Well, that's not a current one, because he's currently in the car, but that's what Jules Gounon thinks about that curb.
That curb, potentially this race in general. There's been a lot going on over the course of this hour. Lots of carbon fibre for people to collect, particularly if you're a Lamborghini fan on the exit of turn 10. Elias Seppänen obviously having an interesting start to his race. He lost a few places in the early stages for the 84 Mamba, the Mamba Junior as we call it, since they're both in the junior class. But now Frankie Bird could well move themselves back into the top 5.
Yeah, and they're doing a great job. They clearly love this circuit. So, we take stock. Where are we? We're at the Nürburgring. That's where we are. Mauro Engel's leading by 2.8 seconds of Sven Müller and Jules Gounon. Luca Engstler in 4th place. Christian Engelhardt in 5th. Frankie Bird in 6th. Albert Costa Balboa is 7th. Lucas Stoltz in 8th. Christopher Mies, defending champion, in 9th. And Ben Green in 10th. Another of the defending champions, Ricardo Feller. This is his Monteplas by Land Motorsport Audi, running in 12th place. Between him and Ben Green is Konsta Lapalainen, one of the newest race winners in GT Masters. We're looking at a replay here, and this is where we saw that dirt being kicked up into the air. It was Luca Engstler forgetting that he's not on the rallycross circuit. He is, in fact, the Nürburgring on the tarmac. He continues on his way. It would have taken a few corners to clean those tyres up, but it didn't look like he lost anything as a result. I have to say, we said Frankie Bird was going to be coming under pressure. I would say Frankie Bird is putting on the pressure, because Christian Engelhardt in 5th place is increasingly seeing his mirrors full of yellow Mamba.
Yeah, now that they're into the dirty air and into a pack, it does seem as though the Mercedes from the Manfilter Team Landgraf has suddenly really kicked into gear for Frankie Bird, and he's causing Christian Engelhardt all manner of palpitations at the moment, I suspect. Engelhardt will want to get a strong score on the board for this one, particularly if Engel and Marchiello are to take this win, because that will, of course, bring Marchiello right back into that championship hunt.
Yes, it really will, and the championship is so close. I would point out none of these drivers can afford to have a non-finish. The points are so close, a non-finish would be catastrophic, and maybe Engelhardt will think of that if Frankie Bird puts the pressure on. He may do well if Bird starts really pressuring him to let him go, because he needs to finish. It's consistency rather than just odd race wins that win a championship. You need to be scoring at every event. So Mauro Engel has a 2.751 lead at the moment. 3.238 is the gap between Sven Muller and Jules Gounon. And that is more dust being kicked up in the air. This time Lucas Stoltz hopefully enjoying his return to GT Masters. We welcome him back. It is just this one event because Daniel Juncadella will be back in the seat of that car at Sachsenring next time out. But nevertheless, it's still great to see Lucas Stoltz here. And Luca Engstler feeling the pressure. Christian Engelhardt, Frankie Bird, so impressive with the 84 car. Still putting the heat on, still pressuring, still trying to find that 5th place. So we have 8 3/4 minutes of this race remaining. It's the quickest hour of the week, it always is. And these positions staying as they are at the moment, but you just get the feeling this is not how it's going to finish. The question is, can Luca Engstler hold off Christian Engelhardt, and can Christian Engelhardt hold off Frankie Bird? The problem is, if Engelhardt does make a challenge on Luca Engstler and it doesn't stick, Frankie Bird may well decide to fill the gap and relegate the 91 Porsche further down the order.
I get the feeling Costa Balboa in 7th place is keen as well. He almost lost it there coming out of turn 6 on the painted curbs. Had a bit of a sideways moment but held it together nicely. Of course, we saw another of the Emil Frey Lamborghinis, Mick Wieshofer in the 14 car, have a moment there in qualifying. Took out some of the sponsor hoardings on his way earlier in the day, so it is quite easy to lose that car out of turn 6, or lose any GT3 car out of turn 6 in particular. Lots of shifting of the balance as you go through that turn. Engstler, though, to your point, continuing to hold them off, may continue to do so, but it is going to be very hard work. We've seen it so many times in GT Masters post pit stop. New cast of drivers in, fields end up together, you end up with huge packs, huge trains of cars, and then it's usually that last couple of minutes or so where any form of orderly queue is thrown out of the window.
Yes, the tyres are starting to get a little bit worn now because we are 43, no, how much my maths? We have 7 minutes remaining of this race.
53 minutes
53,
in.
that'll be the one.
And here comes Winkelhock. Winkelhock there with a move on Rougier, but he can't quite get it done. That's for 14th place. So 53 minutes into the race, and clearly the 69 car could make some positions up yet, because Winkelhock is driving very nicely indeed. Marcus Winkelhock driving very well at the Nürburgring. Where have I heard that one before? Oh, 15 years ago. Spiker in Formula 1. That was 15 years last month.
Wow.
That he had that one-off appearance, that infamous one-off appearance at the 2007 European Grand Prix. He now moves up to 14th, helping Florian Spengler along in that car collection team. And of course, since Florian is a talented amateur driver, it is very much a close-knit relationship with Marcus, who guides him through the permutations of GT3 racing.
You saw the leader going through there, Mauro Engel. You can see he's got a comfortable gap. The 1, 2, 3 doesn't look like there's much change between them, or there will be much change in the last 6 minutes. Big gaps between the 1, 2, 3. But 4th downwards, certainly potential for action yet. It's still Luca Engstler in the number 15 Rutronic Racing Audi. The Team Youth Sportwagen Technique Porsche behind in the number 91 car, and then Frankie Bird in the number 84. That is the man-filtered Team Landgraf Mercedes AMG. And behind Frankie Bird, Albert Costa Balboa. Costa Balboa, who does not back off ever, ever. And he continues to pressure. Albert Costa Balboa knows only 2 speeds, off and on. And at the moment, it's definitely on. And Costa Balboa is going to be thinking about what he can do about Frankie Bird in the last 5 minutes of this race. You can see the gap evolution between Engsler and Engelhardt. Engelhardt is turning up the heat and continues to look to the inside, to the outside. There's the chicane, and through they go, but still no challenge. Now up towards turn 11. Out of 11 will be the best opportunity. If Engelhardt can get close enough, then he'll try and pick up the slipstream along the pit straight, but that Audi just appears to have the legs at the very point that Engelhardt needs it not to have the legs, and into turn 1, no opportunities for an overtake.
No, you can feel the frustrations building in this train of cars, can't you? But Engsler has proven himself to be a feisty defensive driver here in GT Masters in this his inaugural season as a full-time competitor in the championship with Rutronic Racing. And we've also seen a lot of his defensive driving over the years in ADAC TCR Germany as well. Of course, he had a rather good tutor for that kind of thing as well. Father and touring car star Franz Engsler, of course, guiding Luca through his career to this point. Just running a bit deep there into turn 5 was Frankie Bird, trying to get a good exit out of the corner to get closer to Engelhardt, but at the moment proving futile. Let's see what happens though in these closing 4 minutes. A little bit of a replay though of Maro Engel.
Yes, so I'm not sure if this is just because we're going to see some good slow motion shots through the chicane, or whether there was an incident. It looks like it's just a great slow motion shot, and we are getting some great shots here at the Nürburgring. It is a legendary circuit, and for a driver to win here, it's something they'll always remember. Sven Muller using every bit of the runoff area possible, and Jules Gounon also using a fair bit of the track as well. That's the 1, 2, 3. The yellow car's leading, the green and blue one is second, and the white one is third. There you go. Then here comes the battle for fourth. Luca Engsler still has a handle on this, and I have to say, for a driver on his debut year in GT Masters, he's doing a great job holding off the sort of pressure that Christian Engelhardt has. Christian Engelhardt, the 2020 GT Masters champion, he knows how to pass the car, and he will be putting everything that he's got into trying to get past Luca Engsler.
Christopher Mies has joined this scrap now as well. He's practically caught up to the rear of Lucas Stoltz. Stoltz, who is also catching up as well. So this huge pack of cars running for fourth place at the moment. You do sense that something is going to change in this order before the end. We've seen it so many times. Remember the Sachsenring last year? You had Rolf Nijken defending from about 15 cars for most of the race. In the last 2 corners, he lost 2 places. That's the kind of thing that can happen here quite a lot in GT3 racing, in ADAC GT Masters. And we are rapidly approaching those final laps. 2 minutes and 15 seconds plus 1 lap left to go.
The ADAC GT Masters, considered to be the toughest GT3 category in the world, and it's certainly proven to be that way. Very rarely do we see the same driver pairing winning both on a Saturday and a Sunday. I would suggest this weekend might be an upset to that particular record. We saw it at Red Bull Ring with Schubert Motorsport for the first time. I think it was in about 6 years. Ben Green and Niklas Kruten winning back-to-back victories twice over the same weekend. Engel and Marciello, they are a potent combination, and you may well see the 48 car somewhere near the front again tomorrow. But of course, we've got today still to deal with. 90 seconds left as we look again at the cars just bouncing over that chicane. Ben Green giving it the large. Behind him is Konsta Lappalainen in the number 14 car. 1 minute and 20 seconds left for our race leader. 1 minute and 20 seconds left for Christian Engelhardt to try and find a route past Luca Engsler for 4th place. Is this going to happen? Frankie Bird still there, still not backing off. Albert Costa Balboa not really close enough to challenge Frankie Bird at the moment. 1 minute plus 1 lap remaining. Keep an eye on the background of Lucas Stoltz as well. And our leader continues out towards the Vidal chicane, turn 10. This is the scraps for 4th behind. You can see from your graphic there, Sven Muller in the Allied Racing Porsche, 5 places is what he's gained. Ben Green's done a great job as well, of course, along with Niklas Kruten, his teammate. And Sven Muller had his teammate Joel Sturm, who did that opening driving stint, did a great job there. Looking back from Christian Engelhardt's perspective at 6th place, Frankie Bird, there are just 20 seconds plus 1 lap remaining of this race.
So penultimate lap now, just about, well, let's see, 7.4 odd kilometers left for Luca Engstler to withstand the pressure from Engelhardt and co. And Engelhardt having a little look to the inside there at turn 2, part of the Mercedes arena, aptly named for the team leading the way at the moment. The Team Landgraf squad, of course, Mercedes through and through. One of the important cogs in the team is none other than Mercedes legend Bernd Schneider. It is very much a team of the three-starred emblem. Engelhardt, though, really trying hard to get past the four-ringed emblem, and Luca Engstler. Engstler, of course, as we mentioned, the leading Audi. The Audi isn't looking that great here this weekend, surprisingly, in defiance of the form book. But Engstler maybe going to finish in the top 5 here. He's got one more lap of pressure to withstand.
We may have to wait at least another day for that 50th win for Audi, because it's certainly Mercedes and Porsche who are holding on. There is an Audi in the front here, and Engelhardt completely making a Horlicks of the chicane. He goes straight across. It doesn't look like he loses too much, but there is a cloud of dust, and now Frankie Bird sees that opportunity as we head into the final lap of the race. And I thought that Bird might somehow find a route past at that point. You see Engelhardt just getting it wrong, under braking. He bumps across. He's got dirt on the tyres. Bird can't quite take advantage of that situation. Engelhardt will be making that Porsche very wide indeed in this final lap. Mauro Engel, though, is leading the way by some 3.1 seconds. He just needs to keep on doing what he's doing as he heads around turn 5 and up towards turn 6 in that Mercedes. Sven Muller in a fairly distant second, 3.1 seconds behind, and 2.2 seconds behind him is Jules Gounon. The 1, 2, 3 looking fairly set in stone. The 4 most certainly, or 4th and 5th certainly not. Here comes Frankie Bird once again challenging Christian Engelhardt. Albert Costa Balboa sees an opportunity to the inside of Frankie Bird. The two cars make contact, but still they continue in the same order. This ain't all over yet, is it? Meanwhile, our race leader is heading up towards turn 11. It's Mauro Engel, who's about to come out of the final corner. We don't know where to look. Here he comes, receiving the checkered flag. Mauro Engel, Raffaele Marciello taking the win ahead of Sven Muller and Joel Sturm. Jules Gounon and Fabian Schiller in 3rd place. This battle that has been raging on all race long. Luca Engstler coming home in a very relieved 4th place. Also, Christian Engelhardt, Frankie Bird, Albert Costa Balboa, and Christopher Mies nicking Lucas Stoltz in the closing stages and getting in front. Stoltz down to 9th. Ben Green rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, quite curious to see what happened to Stoltz there. He ended up quite a way behind Mies halfway through that final lap, where previously Mies had seemed a little way behind Stoltz. So whether there was an error or a slight issue on the final lap, we don't know. But faultless, errorless driving from Raffaele Marciello and Mauro Engel. They take the first win of the weekend.
We knew when the announcement came that Mauro Engel was going to be joining Raffaele Marciello. I used to think that every other team on the pitch went, oh. Because that really just, as Norbert Haug there, just congratulating the brand mate, Raffaele Marciello. Of course, Marciello, a driver who at one point looked like he might make it into top-level single-seater racing, but for the fact that he's about 8 foot tall, doesn't really fit in a single-seater. He certainly made GT3 his chosen category, and he has been absolutely red hot. And his wonderful 7 days continues. The crest of the wave, he's still riding it because Marciello and Mauro Engel take the win here in race 7 of the season. So as we look at the Nürburgring Castle, here is your classification. It's Marciello and Engel who take the win ahead of Joel Sturm, Sven Muller, Fabian Schiller and Jules Gounon rounding out the top 3. Luca Engstler and Patrick Niederhauser in 4th, holding off Ayhancan Guven and Christian Engelhardt. Great drive from Elias Seppänen and Frankie Bird ahead of Jack Aitken and Albert Costa Balboa, with Christopher Mies and Tim Zimmerman rounding out the top 8. There are the rest of the results. Scrolling through now your screen, 9th through to 16th. And there are the remainders. We had 4 non-finishers, and the 71 car, the 33, 28 and 20 all having the day to forget. The day to remember, though, goes to that man there, Raffaele Marciello. I think it's fair to say that there really wasn't the chemistry between him and Jonathan Aberdeen that had been hoped for at the beginning of the season. He had the very rapid Lorenzo Ferrari alongside him at Zandvoort. Ferrari, very much an up-and-coming driver, but maybe not quite at the level. Engel and is the teammate that Marciello was really hoping for, I think, and they've proven why.
Wow, I wasn't quite expecting that. Marciello on 86 points, now tops the standings. 82 for the combination of Engelhardt and Guven. So 4 points in it in favour of Raffaele Marciello. I said it would bring him into points contention. I didn't quite realise it was going to be the points lead, but that combination of 3 points, of course, from qualifying and this result, the race win, has suddenly made Raffaele Marciello a championship favourite.
It really has. I mean, he was a favourite at the start of the season, then it looked like he'd lost it all, and it was all going in the wrong direction. And hopefully for him, those Red Bull Ring days of him in utter frustration at the back of the pack were well behind him, and he is back in the chase without a doubt. And there you see him congratulating the driver that was his teammate last weekend at Spa, Jules Gounon. So it's a Spa 24-1-3. There we go. There's a combination of numbers for you. Engel on the top step and Gounon on the third step of the podium. The three cars in Parc Fermé. Oh, this is going to really set fire to the championship. The Engel and Marciello combination. The question is, will Mauro Engel be alongside the Raffaele Marciello for the rest of the season or not? There are other commitments that Engel has. I think that Marciello will be saying, whatever you've got in your diary, cancel it.
Yes, he'll be trying to bribe one way or t'other, won't he? Marciello and Engel, as always, right at the sharp end. And we, of course, spoke about the possibility of, hey, maybe they can do the double. We've seen it once with Green and Cruton in the Schubert BMW this year. The first ever double win on a GT Masters weekend came here in 2008, Klaus Ludwig and Dominic Schwager in the Callaway Corvette. So there's precedent for it to happen.
Now, the question is, has it ever happened twice in 1 year? There you go. Get your statistics out on that one. Because we've had it at the Red Bull Ring with Cruton and Green. I'm not sure. You're going to have to do a bit of searching for that one, aren't you?
I'll do it for you tomorrow. I'll do it ahead of qualifying. I can't do that now.
So there we go. Congratulations all around. Of course, although Raffaele Marciello jumps to the top of the point standings, his co-driver Mauro Engel doesn't, and is effectively out of the championship hunt on account of the fact he's just joined the series at this race, and it would take something of an upset for him to join Marciello at the top of the point standings. So it is potential, if Marciello can keep this going for the rest of the season, that it could be just one driver who takes the Drivers' Championship. Of course, that's looking a long way ahead. There's an awful lot of racing between now and then. We are into the second half of the season, and we have still 3 more venues to visit, apart from the fact we've still got another race here tomorrow. You can see the Mauro Engel in-car camera, and you can see the congratulations, the donuts and whatever else. The wines will no doubt flow in the Manfilter Team Landgraf Team Motorhome later on, but not for long, because they've got to gather it all up and do it all again tomorrow. So conditions are perfect, the skies are blue, and that has given us what is ideal conditions for a great race here in the ADAC GT Masters, fighting for the title of German GT champion. That bin is looking pretty full. Nobody told me the stock cars were on this weekend. They are gathering up. I tell you what, there's an entire trophy cabinet full of souvenirs ending up in that bin. Whoever gets to that bin, they can take it home with them. So yes, the marshals did a great job gathering up what remains of several Lamborghinis and Audis primarily.
Yes, well, I was just realising that I'm picking up on incidents that I didn't know happened based on what they're picking up. That was a piece piece of the 69 car collection car. I didn't see that have an incident, but there we go.
Well, you'd be forgiven for forgetting by the number of incidents we had. There is third place, Fabian Schiller and Jules Gounon. And they are running, of course, in the Drago Team ZVO Mercedes-MG. Joel Stern, Sven Muller in second place for Allied Racing. What an impressive combination these two drivers have proven to be. Joel Stern, another moving up from GT4. Very impressive indeed. The winner, though, we knew it was going to be strong, and that's what's proven to be the case. A maximum score here today for the number 48 car, Raffaele Marciello. Mauro Engel for Manfilter Team Landgraf in the Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo. So the cool-down room, that's Frankie Bird and Elias Seppänen. Reflecting. They don't look especially delighted. I think you deserve great congratulations, I have to say, for doing what you have done here this race and finishing as high up as you have. So great job. And they, of course, will get a trophy for their troubles in the junior category for being at the front of that. The 1-2, well, there's the 2-3 anyway across the line in the main drivers. I can see my colleague next to me scrolling back, looking to see if anybody has won twice, back-to-backs twice in a season. So I'm flying solo now, I'm afraid. Sorry, everybody.
I can still contribute, but yes. Well, it's amazing just how infrequently it does happen. The last time before, obviously, Red Bull Ring in 2022 was Red Bull Ring 2018.
Yes.
Callaway Corvette taking a double win with, I believe, Jules Gounon at the wheel at that time.
It was Jules Gounon, yes, indeed.
Jules obviously has been here for a while. He's always been very potent as well, but it is such a rare thing to see owing to the competitive nature of this championship. And as you say, has it ever happened twice in the season before? That is the question I'm currently finding out. I imagine I won't find out in time for the broadcast this week. Sorry, today, but I'll tell you tomorrow.
You know we are doing what is known as the commentator's curse, because you know that us even talking about it means that they're probably going to qualify in the back row of the grid tomorrow, and they'll come looking for you. You know that, and me.
It was you that brought it up.
Oh, yeah, all right.
I'm bigger. No, I'll take the hit.
My name is Adam Weller. Right, so here they come, and out onto the podium in the sunshine. We get ready for the presentation of trophies. The Manfilter team are looking on with great excitement. And here we come onto the podium. The applause, it's like the anticipation, the dramatic pause, here comes our third place, Fabian Schiller and Jules Gounon. The second place drivers about to emerge. And I have to say, this is the driver combination that for me have been the stars of the show. Joel Stern and Sven Muller, who came from the fourth row of the grid for second place. No mean feat in GT Masters. And to the top step. Dramatic pause once again, ladies and gentlemen. Raffaele Marciello and Mauro Engel receive the applause from Manfilter Team HTP Landgraf. Give it all its titles. Onto the top step of the podium. And here comes a representative from Manfilter, Team Landgraf. And now we prepare for the national anthem. championship is well and truly back on. It's Raffaele Marciello who qualified the car on pole position this morning. Of course, it will be Mauro Engel who does the qualifying tomorrow morning, and we'll see whether he can match his teammate and put the car on the front row of the grid. In the meantime, my colleague alongside me, Adam, has been going through the statistics. Tell us what you found.
Well, we asked the question as the trophies are presented. We asked the question of if we do see Marciello and Engel on the top step tomorrow, would that be the first time we've seen two drivers take both wins on the same weekend? Of course, we've already had it once this year with Green and Cruton. The answer is no. 2014, four driver lineups got both wins across the weekend. So
wow,
that happened 4 times in the 2014 season, a team completely sweeping the weekend. So if they do it, it won't be history-making, but it could be championship-making, of course, for Raffaele Marciello.
Well, there's the stats there from Adam Weller, everybody. There is the trophy being awarded to the Landgraf team, Manfilter, and you saw second and third also getting their trophies as well. They will hold their trophies high. A quick photo, and then everybody dives for cover. So, trophies held high, an entertaining race. If ever I saw one. And we get to do it all again tomorrow. Question is, can Raffaele Marciello and Mauro Engel make it 2 out of 2 this weekend? It's going to be a fairly tall order to do because there are some very, very competitive cars around them. I will remind you that Jack Aitken and Albert Costa Balboa will have shed their weight penalty tomorrow, and they will no doubt be towards the sharper end of the grid as well, and they will be challengers in that Lamborghini. Cheers, everybody. Schumacher champagne all around. The celebrations start, but very shortly, attention turns to tomorrow morning. It will be race 8 of this 14-race season here at the Nürburgring. And the question is, will it be Marciello and Engel, or will it be one of the other driver pairings? It has been an entertaining day here at the Nürburgring. Let's do it all again tomorrow. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.